Hey everybody, excited to bring you part two of Tracey's interview. We'll be covering his job search experience, exam advice, and resume tips. Let's get started.
Well, I know that you're coming up, like you said, to November 20th, which is your sixth cert, PD1. Yay. I know that's in a
Yeah.
few days. For people watching, this is November 8th. So he
Yeah.
has not too long to go. Not to like, but yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So I know that you just finished about a week ago your
yeah.
career as, how long were you a teacher?
10 years. No,
10 years.
11. So I started
11?
10,000, 2000, 2000,
10,000.
2010. I started as a middle school Spanish teacher. So everything from being more like consultant, professional development at or like I guess training in corporate settings in South America, and but then coming back to the traditional classroom as a middle school and then a high school teacher. So yeah, it strange. It's very strange to not be in the classroom and you know I miss the kids, of course. Like they're awesome. The kids are like the the engine that keeps it moving, right? And they can drive you crazy, right? We don't want to romanticize it, but it's a really cool experience, and I will always be grateful for everything because a lot of what they taught me
Yeah.
has helped me evolve my trade, my craft, my whatever. Um, because you're always challenged with a new thing, right? Like, boom, what's up with this kid? How are we gonna help you out, man? Like you're looking at me like, nah, Mr. Kid, I'm not doing that. This it, and at the same time, I am very excited. Data has always been like in the background, but now it's in the foreground. Like it's my main focus, and that to me is exciting because like when I was running Go English, the company in South America, like um I was just kind of not winging it, but I would get on LinkedIn Learning, or at that point it was called
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Lynda.com or something. And
Yes, yeah.
I was like, how do you do this? What is a power pivot? I don't understand this. And so that's completely different than actually sitting down and understanding like not only like how to do it on the user interface, but then it's like the developing side of it is just exciting. Um, so that's kind of like where my heart is now, kind of saddened, but also highly motivated, and I'm energized and excited. So
Well, now you're going to be teaching people how to use tech. So you're still going to use, that's what I love. I mean, that's honestly why I loved your background because, and anybody that comes from academia, because honestly, I see a lot of previous professors, university
mm,
teachers, I mean, just so many people coming in
right.
from academia,
Yeah.
and just using the skills that they learn from teaching themselves on how
Yeah.
to teach. And they honestly become one of the best people to teach others on how to use technology. So
Right.
that's another question I have for you. You know, I've had a lot of people reach out that are professors,
Okay.
teachers, just academia background, and they question themselves. They're like, well, how can I use my background? And you probably run into this from a few people,
Mm,
but how do I use my background having no background in tech? How
mm.
can I do Salesforce? Like, what would you say to those people if they came up to you or you overheard that?
It's a reflective process of looking at how you describe your experiences and what you did, who you helped, how things evolved in that process. And I think a lot of times we go back and we realize, oh, wait, so maybe I didn't call it that, but that's what I was actually doing. Right. And like a lot of project management skills I find in the classroom, but we don't have like that, PMI or like, requirements gathering or I'm trying to think of other like scope creep, right? Like a teacher should be excellent at preventing scope creep, which is what you will do in a project in the corporate world, or what at least I was doing when I was down in Chile. But it's like it's a and I would encourage everyone to like sit down and look through all of those experiences on your profile, your resume, and think what skills did I learn that may be applicable in this context. So yeah, I think we all have those things that maybe we're not aware of. And one of the big things that was helpful for me was I watched again, it was David Lewin. This was like in
Yeah.
June, and he had this like maybe it was like four or five different people from Salesforce, and they were talking about like what does Salesforce look like for 2020, I think. And they were talking about like this idea of, okay, maybe you don't have the Salesforce experience, but what are your experiences? And they did a great job, much better than what I just did, of
Mm.
explaining how to reflectively go through those and um, be aware that, yeah, you could just call yourself a teacher, or you could just say, I did this, but then what were the components of that? And how does that lead into Salesforce? So,
Totally with you on that. A lot of times when I'm reviewing people's resumes or LinkedIn's, they'll say, well, I don't have the experience. But then we bring it back to people who actually are entrepreneurs, for example, or do own their own businesses. And I'm like, well, you actually did use Salesforce. You started off with the lead. You had to sell your product, right? So start thinking about it. And they're like, oh, and that's awesome. And I know I want to bring this in now that we're talking about this. It's just like job searching, resumes, LinkedIn, because I know, now that you're looking for a new job in the Salesforce industry, super exciting. How has it been for you revisiting your resume and really like fixing it to be more tailored towards Salesforce?
yeah. I'll say one thing. I've been able to, Megan, you're a huge part of that, of just like giving feedback or getting feedback from the community. The Salesforce community is beautiful. When I first got into it, I was like, hold on, there's like no
Is it real?
negative. I mean, it's just insane. Like everyone is super helpful. And even like on threads, I'm like, at this point, you should be like, yo, did you not read the beginning of it? Like, what's going on? But there's just a degree of patience and compassion, and people are excited to help. So have been multiple people. Megan, you were one of those to like look at my resume and reword things and understand the importance of quantifying or looking at the numbers of things, because as a teacher, there's all these beautiful adjectives on my resume, or there were, that were like, oh, like this is what I was doing. And you're like, but hold on, you were leading a team. How many people? How many people did that impact? How many students were you gathering data from? And all of that sort of stuff started to allow me to present myself in a different way. And I by no means would encourage any of us to like, fabricate or lie on our resumes, but you want to show yourself as strongly as possible. And that is what, again, a part of the reflective process of like, how many people was I actually serving? What was I doing? And trying to make the most of that 1-2 page resume. Job hunting, it's a mix, right? Like you get in those interviews and you're like super excited, and then of course there's like these letdowns. But I think that you're looking long term, right? Like my head is so focused in 10 years from now, that the short term obstacles, or like maybe not going all the way with getting the job or whatnot, is kind of like one of those things that you grow from, right? Even then, like I've been able to reach out to one company I went pretty deep into the interview process with, and it just didn't happen. And it was experience. And I'm like, cool, that's cool. But they gave me so much feedback in that. And so I would encourage, as you get those interviews or those emails or whatever it is that you're looking at to land that job, it might not be the job that you gain from that, but it's that insight and the practice of interviewing. And I don't know. So it's definitely been a fun process. And again, I won't romanticize it. It's super sad. Like you're like, oh man, I'm super sad. Like really wanted that. So you just grow from that, and you look.
Yeah, Tracy, so I agree with you. And another thing I want to kind of point out is for people that are in the job application portion and like doing interviews, and they kind of think, well, maybe I should just take one interview. But no, like if a recruiter reaches out to you and has a job opportunity which you might be interested in, take that, talk to the recruiter, because from experience, when I talk to recruiters, I learn a lot more about a company and how a company conducts itself and how many clients they're working with or what you would be doing. The more knowledge you have, the better. And then when it actually comes to interviews, take those interviews. Don't pass up on the interview, because each interview that I've been a part of, they ask different questions. And it's very different from when I was in interviews, like doing my academia, for example. How long, or what are your 5-year goals, 10-year goals? Why should we hire you? What are your weaknesses? Stuff like that. It's completely different. It's more like, what would you do if a project didn't end up so well and you had to tell a client you couldn't do something? How would you respond to that? And I've gotten that from doing multiple interviews. So for people that are watching, take that interview, learn and see the difference as you go, and hear what different companies are asking. So at the end of the interview, you can also ask them questions too. I think that's so important. Like how many clients am I going to be working on with? What is my team looking like? What is my level of configuration that you need? Like it's not that your employer is not telling you, but you need to know from the experience, and you'll only get that from taking the interviews on what questions to ask as well. So now that you are moving on to your next chapter, where do you see yourself going? And really, how do you plan on using your academia background in your future positions?
Um, in my future positions, I think academia and teaching and whatnot, there's this strong correlation between what I see as a strong admin who would be able to connect those dots and make sure that, there's high adoption. There, like people are comfortable using the what you configure, right? You can configure all these beautiful pieces, and yet if no one's using it or it's not being used, to its highest um, ability, then I think that's what that really excites me.
Mm,
I'm looking forward to pulling that into it and really supporting the people, the users, the end users. I think that's one side of things. The other side is um, the developer side. I'm very excited to look into, because I feel like as I do that, then I'll understand flows that much more, and I'll
yeah.
understand process. Like when I would do a flow before I did, my PD's kind of like prep. I was like, okay, I think I understand what's going on, but now it's like, oh wow, I really understand that. And so I imagine that as I get more hands-on experience, then I can start to really figure out like, what is it that I would want to pursue long term, right? Is
Mm,
it that business analyst? Is it that architect? Is it that developer? Because I don't know. Again, that's the exciting part of Salesforce. There's a lot of different avenues to go into. And I believe as I get more experience with whatever job I'm able to land, then that's going to be the next stage of evaluating and truly thinking like, where do I want to guide this journey towards? So that's what I see in the future, and I'm very excited about that.
I'm excited for you. I think one thing, and you said it really, it's just that with Salesforce, you can kind of create your own path, really dependent on what you like. So it's really cool that you are taking on the Platform One developer cert. I think that there's so much that we need to learn, especially you mentioned it, flows, admins and business analysts. We all have to start learning flows. And you're taking it on and you're showcasing to people that that we're scared of flows can do it too. And that's
Right.
something I see quite often, like I'm not technical. I need help with flow. So, anybody that's watching, definitely reach out to Tracey. He's as you've seen, he has the best productivity skills. I'm learning off of him. I'm starting to tab everything, color coordinate. So, reach out to him. And I guess the last question I wanted to ask you is there anything that, for the people watching that you would want to tell the audience as they move forward in their own personal Salesforce journey?
Yeah. Megan, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure just to process through my journey and hearing your experiences, and I appreciate that. I sincerely do. So thank you. Um, I would encourage everyone to find ways to um, find your rhythm, that those small increments of like, all right, so this is what I want to do today, because those are all those building blocks that get us closer to our goals. um, Network, don't feel overwhelmed to do that. Set apart size, say, hey, I want to network, I want to work towards certs, or I want to, whatever it might be, because at the end of the day you can feel accomplished, and you're making those steps, because you can't do it. I mean, there's just so much to consume and to learn and to understand, and so as you find those solid mentor relationships where you can bounce ideas off of them, or as you dig deeper into the ecosystem, like those are little pieces that are going to make a huge difference as you grow, right? It's that I think it's the 1.01 to 365. I just butchered that. I'm gonna pull that back. So it's there is a an equation that talks about how every day, if you are, going at it zero point zero 0.01 more,
Mhm.
and to the 365-degree, or however you would say that, you're going to grow that much more, right? I think it ends up being like 38 or 48 times better, bigger, or stronger at the end of the year. While if it's 0.99, then it's like you aren't able to um, make the most of it. But real, it's, you don't have to like conquer it all in a day. It's just that small little increment. So find that piece, celebrate that piece,
Yeah.
set those goals, measure those goals, and you're headed in the right direction. That to me is exciting. So just go after it.
I love that. I think the biggest important part that you said there is celebrate those little things, because so
Yeah.
many times I think it's just human nature. Like we're so prone to kind of comparing ourselves to people that are very advanced in their journey. And I think when people starting off in Salesforce, or really anywhere in their journey, we see other people getting all these certs sometimes. And it's just like, well, if you learned to flow today and you did that by yourself,
Right.
and you took the time and you put that at those hours, and like celebrate those
Right.
little wins. So again, Tracey, like, thank you so much for coming on and just talking about your background and where you're going and just all of these great tips that people can use moving forward. Everybody watching, reach out to him. He's great to have. I mean, he's in the learning process. It's fresh to him. He has great tips for taking tests, exams, studying. I highly do recommend it. I'll put his link to his LinkedIn in the description below, and also the book that he mentioned earlier. And I'll also put his Focus on Force video, where I found Tracey. Really great just to watch it. But thank you so much for coming. And everybody, we will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, Tracey.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.